emergency for tonight starting at 8 p.m. They expect heavy rain to start around 12:30. Our first report was 1 to 4 inches. We just heard that it might now be closer to 4 to 8 inches. This is I know, that's what we need after Ida. So obviously heavy rains, gusty winds. Please be careful. So from Woodbridge Township, and we are mostly in the back, straight ahead. Our business administrator, Vito Simaluka, his assistant, Casey Wagner, our health director, Dennis Green, assistant health director, Phil Bajowski, chief of staff, Carol Ehrlich, public information officer, John Haggerty, and sitting in the audience right in the middle there is our councilwoman, Debbie Meehan. We are all here to answer any of your questions afterwards. We'll have a question session tonight, but we're going to stick around afterwards to answer any questions one-on-one. For the record, so we know who's here, if you're from Woodbridge Township, please raise your hand. Wow, is anybody else here? All right. From South Plainfield, we have the business administrator, Glenn Cohen, the superintendent of schools, Noreen Lishak, Councilman Rob Bensavegna, and I'm told that South Plainfield is having a session with the water company on November 3rd, which is next Wednesday at South Plainfield High School. We also have from Metuchen, Council President Linda Koskoski and Councilwoman Dorothy Rasmussen. They are having a session on November 1st, 7:30 at Metuchen High School. From Edison, we have the OEM coordinator, Andy Toth. And I'm told, oh, first let me go back. Metuchen, please raise your hand if you're from Metuchen. Okay. All right, and if you're from South Plainfield, please raise your hand. All right, if you're Edison, please raise your hand. Okay, so we got a little bit of everybody else. Andy Toth is here from Edison, and your meeting is the 28th at 7 p.m. at J.P. Stevens High School. So the water company will be available for all three of the other towns. Now, just to fill you in on what we've done, we all know each other, we work together, so we decided that it would be a good idea for us to pool our resources and get one consultant that we could all rely on to help us through this. So we engaged a company called P&M Associates as our normal environmental engineer. They do a whole lot of different projects with us. South Plainfield has the exact same consultant as their environmental engineer. Edison, Metuchen mayors and councils are both very familiar with P&M Associates. So they are going to be engaged, hopefully by the four of us. We'll probably take the lead and then go through the process and then at the end figure out a share to divide everything up depending on how much the fee is from the firm. But they have a good deal of experience. They have two municipal water utilities as clients, the Borough of National Park and the Borough of West Bedford in, I think it's Salem or Cumberland counties. They are their actual clients. They've been working with them on these issues. They have a great deal of experience with PFOAs. We had them on the phone for an hour today, the four mayors and their representatives, and we talked through with them a whole bunch of different issues, and we're very confident that they're the right firm to help us through this process. We also had a 1-hour call with the DEP today. There were about 5 different people from the DEP from different areas, and they went through a whole lot of things with us to educate us so that we knew more about what we were doing. So we are working together. The 4 towns are working together. There's really not much point in 4 of us hiring 4 different firms and doing 4 different meetings with everybody. So I'm very happy to report that Mayor Lanke, Mayor Bush, and Mayor Inesh are working with Woodbridge. The 4 of us are going to get through this together. So that's very good news. Now what's going to happen now is I'm going to turn this meeting over to Bernadette Soler to my left. She's from the Government Affairs Liaison from Middlesex Water Company. She's going to facilitate this meeting. She's going to introduce all of the officials from Middlesex Water. They're going to make a presentation, and then at the end of the presentation, they're going to take questions and provide the answers, hopefully, or I'm sure if they can't get back to everybody with the answers. Many of you have filled out cards, they've been collecting them, so you know what a lot of the questions are. You know, we know it's about filters, we know it's about bottled water, all the questions that we've been getting in town hall. And I'm sure the other mayors and councils have been getting also. So they're going to be prepared tonight to answer all of those questions. If there's anything you don't know, after tonight you need something further quantified, there's a number for Middlesex Water will be provided tonight. I know at least from Woodbridge, you can call our office, call any council person, call our health department. We're happy to follow up. And as I said, we'll stay here late tonight and help you out. So I think that's all I need to say. Please be respectful, and please allow them time to make their presentation, and please allow them time to answer your questions, and tonight will go very well. Thank you very much. Bernadette Soler from Middlesex Water.
I thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Mayor McCormick for offering this venue for Columbia High School for this important public education meeting. I'd also like to thank each and every one of you for coming out this evening. Our goal is to hold this meeting in a respectful, courteous, and productive manner. So safe drinking water is essential to everyday life. We know it, and Middlesex Water has been committed to delivering that for over 124 years. We know that the letter some of you may have received appears concerning. I, too, received the letter. We're here tonight to explain that notice that you received, to explain the issue, because the required language around these complex regulations can be both confusing and appear alarming. We also want to help you better understand the risk, how we are working to correct it, and how we're going after the 3M company to hold them accountable. We know you have questions. We've prepared a short presentation to give you some background on this issue. We ask you to listen to the presentation and to hold your questions until afterward, because they may, in fact, be answered within the presentation. I thank all of you for writing your cards out and for turning those in. We will be addressing those after the presentation as well. I'll also be coming down later on to collect any additional cards if you have any other questions afterward. Right now, I'd like to now introduce our President and CEO of Middlesex Water Company, Dennis Dahl, who will make a few remarks and provide an overview.
Thank you, Bernadette. Good evening, everyone. Believe it or not, we are grateful to be able to spend some time with our customer base. Unfortunately, we wish we were under different circumstances, but we do want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I too want to thank Mayor McCormick. It was the mayor's idea to actually hold this event, which I think was a very good idea. So we're grateful for the opportunity to help clarify some of the questions you may have. We know there's some confusion. We know there's some anger. And we're hoping that we were able to answer your questions honestly and in a forthcoming manner. As Bernadette said, we've been in business serving Middlesex County for about 124 years. And throughout that history, we really have prided ourselves on being honest and transparent with our customers. And frankly, if we've made mistakes, we'll admit them and we'll correct them. So tonight we're going to tell you what we know, we're going to tell you what we don't know, and why we've taken the actions that we've taken. So coming out of this meeting this evening, what's most important to me and to our company is that you come away believing that we've been honest with you. We have a slide presentation that I'm going to walk you through in a couple of minutes, but at the end of the meeting, you'll either believe what we tell you, what we share with you, or you won't. You'll believe that we were honest and forthcoming, or you won't. And that will be certainly your judgment to make. So I'd like to introduce a few more individuals sitting up here with me. First we have Bob Fulliger. Bob is our Vice President of Operations. Bob is responsible for all aspects of water production and distribution for the company. Sitting to Bob's left is Dave Brokel. Dave is our Director of Production. Dave has overall responsibility for the company's treatment plants and all aspects of water quality. And then next to Dave is Mark Kyler. Mark is our Superintendent of Water Quality. He works directly with Dave. So we have several experts up here this evening who can answer your technical questions, any technical questions you may have. We're going to walk you through the slide presentation now. We've also posted these slides on our website. And as was indicated, after we go through the slides, we will take your questions. Bob and Mark and Dave have passed out index cards. We have a very long list of cards. We're willing to stay here as long as we need to this evening to answer your questions. And I hope you come away with some information that you have not had previously. So this is just a snapshot of who we are and where we've been since 1897. We continue to invest in our drinking water infrastructure. When new regulations are established, we do take the steps to make sure that we can comply with those regulations. We modify treatment processes. We We improve, upgrade, and replace our assets, and that's what's happened, and that's exactly what we're doing. We'll talk a little bit in a minute about the treatment. Oh, thank you, John. We'll speak a little bit about what we're doing at our treatment plant in order to make improvements to remediate this issue. So what are PFAS? It's a hard name to pronounce. Polyfluoroalkyl substances, per and polyfluoral. They're a group of manufactured chemicals. They've been used in industry and consumer products since the 1940s because they're very useful. PFOA and PFOS are two of the most widely used and studied chemicals in the PFAS group. So one common characteristic of concern is that they break down very slowly. That's the problem, because in the drinking water they don't go away. Some refer to them as forever chemicals. And according to the US EPA, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, most people have been exposed to some type of PFAS, such as PFOA and PFAS, throughout their lives. So you can see the types of products where PFAS are found in packaged food sources, in popcorn bags, firefighting foam, Gore-Tex in clothing, Teflon in cooking, and carpeting, Scotchgard. These are all commonly known and used household products that contain some amount of PFAS. And then included there, you can see the list. As I mentioned, food packaging, household products, manufacturing for chemical production facilities, and in food, fish caught from water contaminated by PFAS, dairy products, and personal care products. You can find it in shampoos and dental floss and cosmetics, and in the soil near waste sites. And yes, it can be in the drinking water. So we think it's important that people understand the standards, why they are what they are, and what they mean. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, who our company is regulated by, as well as the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the U.S. EPA is the government agency responsible for setting all the legal limits for contaminants in tap water and overseeing all aspects of water quality. Currently, this is important, this is why it's in bold, the EPA has no federal drinking water standard for PFAS compounds. It's still collecting data on health effects, it's still analyzing methodologies and treatment technologies. Now, the EPA has established a lifetime what's called a health advisory. It's not a regulation, it's an advisory of 70 parts per trillion for the sum of PFOA and PFAS in drinking water. The EPA level was established to provide a margin of protection to all Americans, as well as those who are immunocompromised or in special populations. Again, not a regulation. So about PFOA specifically, it's the most common of the PFAS compounds and has been detected in drinking water sources across the country. Middlesex Water Company and you, our customers, are no different than many other water systems in the state of New Jersey who were impacted by this or across the country. So Middlesex has been testing for some PFAS as part of what they call the unregulated contaminant monitoring program. And we've been doing that for some time. We've been transparent in reporting of the PFAS detections in the drinking water in our annual consumer confidence reports. I'm sure everyone has read them cover to cover every year. Well, that is a little levity. But those reports are complex, they're very technical, and the average person doesn't understand what they mean. But the regulation requires that they're produced in that format. All of the information is there, but it will admit it is very hard to understand. So utilities were required to start monitoring for PFOA and PFAS and report quarterly results after January 1st of 2021. So this is the first year we were required to monitor and report. So New Jersey set the new strict regulations. You can see from that little chart on the left, as I indicated, the EPA lifetime drinking water voluntary health advisory is 70 parts per trillion. Then there was a screening guideline level at the state level, which was 40 parts per trillion. Again, not a regulation, just a screening guideline. New Jersey DEP enacted a new MCL. MCL is short for maximum contaminant level of 14 parts per trillion. So in 2020, DEP adopted the a true enforceable regulation for MCL of 14 parts per trillion, which significantly lowered the limit from the former guideline of 40 parts per trillion. Only 7 out of 50 states, which include New Jersey, currently have enforceable drinking water standards for PFAS. They're far more stringent and far lower than recommended guidance set forth by the U.S. EPA. But nonetheless, there are a handful of states that chose to enact their own true regulation. So the detection methods have gotten more sophisticated. I've been in this industry virtually all of my career, and I remember when we were measuring contaminants in parts per billion, we thought that was a big deal. Now the technology has improved to the point where we can detect contaminants in parts per trillion, which is just unbelievable. So put the risk in perspective. The new PFOA MCL of 14 parts per trillion, 1 part per trillion is equal to 1 single drop of food coloring in 18 million gallons of water. 1 drop of food coloring in 18 million gallons of water. One single second out of 32,000 years. Put that in perspective. 1 second in 32,000 years. For 1 drop of water in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So the regulation is 14 parts per trillion. Above that level is a violation. So about the notice that you received in the mail. The newly established MCL limit is applied on the basis of a quarterly running average. I won't go into the technical aspects of the calculation, but these slides are also available on our website. And again, we'll be happy to answer any questions. But the reality is that the levels detected in our water were a bit above the new standard. So while our results were above the new strict level, they're still significantly below the EPA lifetime health advisory of 70 parts per trillion. We do believe at some point, thank you, glad John is here to keep you straight. At some point, we do believe EPA will set a maximum contaminant level at the federal level for PFAS contaminants, but they have not done that as of yet. So what is it? You received in the mail a letter with respect to a Tier 2 violation. What a Tier 2 violation means, it is not a health emergency, it is not an acute threat, and it poses no immediate health risk. If it were a Tier 1 violation, which would be a true health emergency, we would have been required by regulation to report that to you within 24 hours. So clearly, this is not a health emergency for the fact that it was characterized as a Tier 2 violation. Nonetheless, we were required to issue the New Jersey DEP-approved language to all customers who receive any amount of water from the groundwater treatment facility. We're not able to accompany that notice with any public education to further explain the notice, which is why we have added so many resources to our website. The language you received in the mail that was sent to your home is required language that needed to be approved by New Jersey DEP. This meeting tonight and the resources that we put on our website is our opportunity to share the company's perspective on these issues, which can be somewhat different than what you saw, or subject to different interpretations than what you saw in the mailing that went to your home. So understanding the risk, it's important to understand that water quality has not changed. The regulation has changed. There have been no changes in the drinking water for many, many years. It's only now that the standard has changed to a lower level that we now have this the regulation in effect with the exceedance that was experienced. Exceeding the PFOA standard imposes no immediate risk, no immediate health risk or acute threat to your health. I can't stress that strongly enough. This is the basis on which the maximum contaminant level was set by the state. People who drink water containing PFOA over the MCL over a period of 70 years have a 1 in a million chance of an adverse health effect, which could be cancer, could have an adverse health effect from such consumption. 1 in a million chance over 70 years. So put that in perspective as well. So the research is still ongoing. This is all relatively new across the country. Part of the reason the EPA doesn't regulate it yet. There's a lot of data being gathered, a lot of scientific research being conducted, which suggests that exposure to high levels of certain PFAS over many years may lead to adverse health outcomes, such as developmental delays, disruption of hormones in the body, low infant birth weight, adverse effects on the immune system, among other effects. The letter that was mailed to your home included, frankly, if I wasn't knowledgeable of the issues, it would have scared the heck out of me as well, because it portrays a potential health emergency, which from our company's perspective, there is none. However, the research is still ongoing to determine how different levels of exposure can lead to a variety of health effects. The science is not mature, the research is not mature. So water from the well fields, PFAS is found in groundwater. It's not typically found in surface water. Most of our supply in the Middlesex system in eastern Middlesex County is from surface water, from the Delaware and Raritan Canal. The rest of it, about 27%, comes from well field supplies. So water delivered to our customers from groundwater treatment facilities may be blended with supplies of our surface water, which lowers the level of the PFOA incidence. So how is Middlesex addressing PFOA? In 2019, we believed that the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection would ultimately be implementing a maximum contaminant level for PFOA. So we began evaluating treatment options. We looked at different removal methodologies. We have, as of now, completed the design of a facility for enhanced treatment, which will comply with the new regulation that's currently in effect. That plan is a $47 million project, which is ready to go to construction, but it will not be in service until mid-2023. The plant will use granular activated carbon, which is one of the proven effective methods against PFOA and PFAS. And once completed, this will support our compliance with this new, stricter standard. As indicated, we're spending $47 million. It's a major project. It's very time-consuming to design and to construct. Now, we indicated up front that we have good evidence to believe that the PFOA, the PFAS was put into the groundwater by the 3M company. We filed a lawsuit in district court against 3M company. And we were initially trying to be pulled into the suit as a class action suit among many other water systems across the country who are also suing 3M. We were successful in not being included in the class action suit, so Middlesex is standing alone, which gives us, we believe, a better opportunity for a better outcome than might otherwise occur if we were part of the class action. So we were not the cause of this contamination. We have to clean it up, we have to comply with the regulation, and we will do anything and everything we can within reason to ensure that our customers are safe. If you were to ask me and our company, our perspective is the water is safe. I know that's one of the big questions that's coming across in the written comments. You can shower with it, you can bathe, you can do your laundry, you can feed your pets. There is no reason to believe that this is an acute health emergency. It is a Tier 2 violation. A Tier 2 violation merely requires notification, a notification that we have no discretion over what the message is that is shared. So what can customers do? If you have specific health concerns, severely compromised immune system, have an infant or pregnant or elderly, or maybe at higher risk, seek advice from your healthcare providers about the notice. And we included that in the letter. That's the required language. I'll tell you that if you were to go to your physician tomorrow and say, I have a concern about PFOA, they're not necessarily going to have an answer for you, because this is all relatively new. Again, the research is not mature, so the medical community is at a disadvantage as to how to advise you. But nonetheless, that's the language that's required in the notification. So New Jersey DEP advises that infant formula and other beverages for infants such as juice should be prepared with bottled water when PFOA is elevated in drinking water. Well, what is elevated? Is elevated 14 parts per trillion? Is it 40 parts per trillion? Is it 70 parts per trillion? The word elevated doesn't give you any specificity whatsoever as to what you should do. And that's part of the challenge that we had. So one option is you can consider installing an in-home water treatment device, a water filter, that are certified to lower the levels of PFAS in your water. And I know some of you had questions about that and some of the comments that you wrote down. And we have our technical experts who can advise you as to what you should do relative to filters. Get to know more about your water quality by reading our annual water quality report. So if you have questions about what you're seeing in those reports, by all means contact the company and we'll share whatever information we can to help you out. So that's a very quick, brief overview of the company's perspective of what we're dealing with. I hope you believe that we are sincerely concerned for your not only your physical well-being, but your mental well-being and the anxiety that this issue is causing. But we want to help to ensure that we can answer your questions and make sure that we give you some level of comfort that things may not be as bad as they're perceived to be. So with that, we will open it up for questions. Bernadette?